Jagmeet Singh there today swinging at Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party about 22 hours after ripping up the agreement that's seen his party prop up the minority Liberal government in exchange for action on policy changes the NDP wanted, including dental care and some aspects of pharmacare. Singh is arguing the Prime Minister is, quote, weak and the Conservatives are, quote, mean. Here to respond is Conservative House Leader Andrew Scheer. Hi, Mr. Scheer. Good to see you as always. Thank you for making the time.
Thanks for having me on, Vassy.
Why is your party, Mr. Scheer, accusing the NDP of pulling a stunt by walking away from their deal with the Liberals? Isn't it possible they simply feel it's served its utility for them and so they're moving on?
Well, Jagmeet Singh has traded his nickname of Sellout Singh for Stuntman Singh because that's basically what he did yesterday. He's refusing to commit to actually voting non-confidence in Justin Trudeau. He had a lot of tough talk and some harsh language, very nasty tone when he's talking about Justin Trudeau. But then when he was asked a very simple question, are you going to vote non-confidence? Are you actually going to give Canadians that choice by triggering a carbon tax election? Then Jagmeet equivocated. He danced, he skated, he refused to say that. So that's really hard to conclude what's actually going to change this fall unless Jagmeet Singh actually says, you know what, enough's enough. Enough of the corruption, enough of the high inflation and high interest rates and misery inflicted on Canadians. But he didn't do that. So that's why we're calling yesterday's event a stunt, because he didn't actually commit to doing anything different.
But I asked him those questions as well, and I take your point that the answer is not necessarily clear, but what I did garner from it was, my impression is that he and his party are more worried about the prospect of your government forming your party, forming government than they are about the Liberals remaining in government. And the point that they put forward over and over again is that the consequences of your party forming government would be so dire that they have to kind of take it on a case-by-case basis moving forward. Doesn't that make sense?
Well, all that basically means is that Jagmeet Singh is going to keep Justin Trudeau in power. That is who is in charge of Canada today. That is who is responsible for the housing misery that Canadians are experiencing, for the crime and chaos that has transformed once safe communities into places where parents are afraid to let their children go and play. There are homeless encampments in cities and towns that never had a homelessness problem before. That's all a direct result of Justin Trudeau's policies, which, by the way, Jagmeet Singh not only supported, in many cases, he demanded. You know, Singh talks about mean policies. Well, let's look at what the carbon tax does to struggling Canadians. It's mean to quadruple a carbon tax. That's what Singh and Trudeau want to do. They've already been hiking it. It's going to go up this next year. It's going to go up the year after. That's their plan. So what Conservatives are saying is, let's let the people decide. Let's take the Singh-Trudeau quadruple the carbon tax plan and compare that to the Conservative plan to bring grocery prices down, offer relief to struggling Canadians by axing the tax, and let Canadians decide. What Jagmeet Singh is saying today is that he's okay with Liberal corruption. He's okay to keep Justin Trudeau in power so he can hand out billions and millions to his cronies in corporate Canada, that he can keep funneling cash to Liberal-friendly organizations, that Singh will continue to vote to cover up investigations into that corruption. He's saying he's okay with housing prices continuing to climb. He's okay with the plan to quadruple the carbon tax. So again, I go back to what is really going to be different this fall if Singh can't commit to actually giving that choice to Canadians.
I'm not sure that's exactly what he's saying. I think he's saying that he has concerns about all that stuff, but he's more worried about what the country would look like if your party forms government. And the basis of his argument, much like the Liberals, is they have accused your party of essentially being willing to take away programs that they have put in place, like dental care, like childcare, like the Canada Child Benefit, and a host of others. The reason they have made that accusation is because your party has not clarified what it would do. Isn't it reasonable of Canadians, when you are, as you have in the last few minutes, describing how terrible you view the country to be in a state of, isn't it reasonable of Canadians to ask of you how you're going to fix it?
Absolutely. And as we get closer to the next election, Canadians will have a comprehensive conservative platform that will speak to making life more affordable and getting our country back on track, putting an end to the wacko policies that have legalized hard drug use in public places, that has devalued the value of workers' paychecks because of inflation and high interest rates, that are forcing more and more Canadians to sell their home because they can't afford to renew the mortgages in the homes they already own. That's what Canadians are living through. And all of that is a direct result of the Singh and Trudeau policy agenda. This didn't happen to Canada the way, El Nino brings in a different weather front or an early frost. The challenges that are facing Canadians today are a direct result of Justin Trudeau's policies, which Jagmeet Singh either demanded more of or actively cheered him on and voted for. So what Singh is saying is that he's going to keep Justin Trudeau in power. All the things he said yesterday about how this is a weak government, beholden to corporate Canada, full of corruption. He then basically said that by not voting non-confidence in this government, he's going to keep Justin Trudeau in power so Justin Trudeau can keep doing the things that caused the problem in the first place. What we're saying is, if Jagmeet Singh has the confidence in what he's saying, if he believes in his own policies, if he believes that quadrupling the carbon tax is what Canadians want, let's let the people decide. Let's stop talking about parliamentary procedure. Let's stop talking about when a non-confidence motion might be tabled or not. Let's go directly to the people, offer them the choice between hiking the carbon tax and axing the carbon tax, and let the people decide.
Respectfully, Mr. Scheer, he's looking at the same polls you and I are, which show that your party would form government. And the conclusion he's arrived at is, it might be better to support the Liberals and keep them in power than have your party be in power. And with all due respect, you didn't answer the question about the accusation that the Liberals and NDP have leveled at you, which is fair in many respects, that you would erase a lot of key programs that have been put on the table for Canadians, because you have also made a promise to bring the budget back into balance at some point, to eliminate a $40 billion deficit. You have not specifically outlined what you would do. I know you keep saying you're going to do that closer to a campaign, but if you want to go to an election tomorrow, don't Canadians deserve to know tonight?
Well, Canadians absolutely deserve to know a political party's platform before they vote, and that is what will happen. But, the NDP do this all the time. Canadians are forced to cut back every time they put, a roast beef back on the grocery shelf, every time they skip a meal, every time they turn the thermostat down. Canadians are making cutbacks in their lives because of government-caused inflation and high interest rates. So more of the same from Singh and Trudeau will just cause more austerity for Canadian families, more cuts to Canadians' quality of life and standard of living. And we're seeing this in more and more data that's been coming out this summer. We're falling further and further behind the United States. More and more Canadians saying they're going to have to move out of their homes because they can't afford their mortgage. And let's look at where Singh and Trudeau want to keep spending. We've identified lots of waste and mismanagement. The NDP and Liberals will always want you to believe some kind of doom and gloom if any kind of fiscal responsibility is applied to government. They're okay with Canadians cutting back as long as government gets bigger and more bloated. There's a $35 billion infrastructure bank that hasn't completed a single project. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been funneled to high-priced consultants like the McKinsey company, sole source contracts going to liberal-friendly corporations. Those are lots of low-hanging fruit.
But you know as well as I do, Mr. Scheer,
we're going to eliminate that waste and corruption. That's how...
Yeah, pardon the interruption. You know as well as I do, you read the budget very closely. The big line items that impact the overall deficit are things like dental care at $4.4 billion, the Canada Child Benefit at $25 billion, child care at $8 billion. You cannot simply eliminate the deficit by getting rid of a $60 million ArriveCan app or all the hundreds of millions of dollars that are spent on consultants. That will eliminate one-time costs, sure. It will not eliminate those big line items. And it also doesn't answer the question that your opposition has put on the table for Canadians, which is this next election will be a choice between removing the programs they've come to rely on and keeping them.
Well, first and foremost, I don't just scoff at 60 million here or 100 million there. That all adds up. They're also not one-time costs.
Not to 40 billion.
Liberal corruption is liberal corruption is a yearly event. It is a recurring item in every budget we've ever looked through since Justin Trudeau took office. There have been hundreds of millions of dollars in waste and corruption. There's been billions of dollars in big programs that don't deliver any results. And you're talking about a couple of programs that I'll address specifically. You know, the infrastructure bank costs $35 billion. That's not a small amount of money. It's completed 0 projects. That's an easy item that we can take off the books and put back into relief and getting back to balanced budgets. Many of these other Liberal programs as well, the school food program that leaves 92% of school children out, a pharma care program that is not providing coverage to most Canadians. Most Canadians are very happy with their hard-earned pharmacare plans that they've won at the negotiating table. So again, we see governments spending billions and billions of dollars. Trudeau is spending billions and billions of dollars, racking up those line items, borrowing money to pay for these programs that are keeping inflation high, keeping interest rates high, and aren't actually delivering results to Canadians. So, as I said, we're going to be very
interest rate
clear
has
with
just
Canadians
declined for a third successive time. Inflation is within the target range.
No, but you and I both know, Vassy, that inflation is still making prices go up. Prices are still going up. The inflation that
at a normal rate right now,
so much havoc on Canadians, are still being felt at the grocery store, at the hardware store, because those prices aren't coming down. They're just. This is the thing about inflation, is that as long as Justin Trudeau keeps making prices high with his massive amounts of spending and borrowing, Canadians aren't going to see those prices come down. It still means that their paychecks have been completely devalued. That's the devastating impact of 9 years of Justin Trudeau and sellout Singh being right there along with him to demand more government programs that have devalued workers' paychecks, meant massive price increases, and caused so much austerity and cutbacks on Canadians. Conservatives are going to offer a different approach. We're going to axe the carbon tax so prices can come down, get the government back on to fiscal responsibility, to put an end to the waste and mismanagement so that prices can stabilize, workers' paychecks go farther, and we have a country where Canadians can get ahead again.
Okay, and I take that point. I just have time for one really quick other question, and it's directly to the point you just made around essentially the Trudeau spending causing all of the economic ills that Canadians are facing. The parliamentary budget officer, whom you very frequently reference when you're talking about the carbon tax, stated very recently in his analysis that the current fiscal policy at the federal level is sustainable over the long term. He estimates that the federal government could permanently increase spending or reduce taxes by 1.5% of GDP while maintaining fiscal sustainability. Why is he okay to reference on one side, and he's right in analyzing the carbon tax, but your argument is totally counter to what he's making here? What expertise do you have that he doesn't?
Well, look at the word sustainable. All sustainable means is that the status quo will continue. So if you're satisfied with the status quo, if you're satisfied with workers' paychecks not being able to put food on the table, with homeowners having to sell their homes to downsize because they can't afford to renew, then go ahead and support Justin Trudeau. Sustainability for the government's operation is completely different.
It's not all Trudeau's fault.
No. Sustainability for the government is much different than sustainability for people. And what we're hearing from coast to coast, when our leader Pierre Poilievre meets with workers, when he meets with tradespeople, what he's hearing is that this government's economic approach is not sustainable for working families, and that's the difference. If Justin Trudeau wants to campaign on a government report or talking about how he can continue taxing and spending and it won't cause the government itself to go bankrupt, well, millions of Canadians are going bankrupt or moving out of their homes or skipping meals, then I welcome that debate in the next election. Because what we know is that Canadians are falling further and further behind. They're struggling. They're facing incredible hardship. And all Singh and Trudeau are offering is more of the same policies that caused the problems in the first place. Conservatives are offering relief and prices and interest rates to come down because of a responsible fiscal approach. Relief by removing the carbon tax, getting government out of the way of free enterprise to provide economic growth that makes companies compete more for workers' wages so that wages go up. And when they work hard for those wages, it can buy more than it can under Justin Trudeau. So more of the same with Singh and Trudeau, a fresh approach with tax relief and price stability and lower interest rates with the Conservative approach.
I look forward to all the details of how that will happen. Mr. Scheer, I appreciate your time as always. I'm out of time. Thank you.